Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling match review show. With myself today, Leeds 2, West Ham 1. Another defeat for West Ham in what was such a pivotal week for our season. And as you can probably tell from a very eject voice from me this morning, it's not good. We are in serious trouble as a football club. Our Premier League status is very much under scrutiny right now, and rightly so, because the performances we're putting in, the tactics and the structure of the team is an absolute shambles. And Nuno has not addressed any of the issues. If anything, it's disrupted things even more since he's arrived, especially this last week against Brentford and Leeds. And we're just making the same mistakes. We've got the same fragilities across the back line. The midfield is slow and not dynamic. Our attack is spineless and toothless and not ruthless. And we just lack fight and quality, and we are in serious trouble. And this Leeds game was very clear that there are serious issues within this football club, and we're in very big danger of going down this season. And that's not even me being dramatic anymore. That's just a fact. And I think everyone outside of supporting West Ham is now looking at West Ham and saying, what on earth is going on? I've had people message me that I haven't spoken to in a long time saying, what on earth is going on with West Ham? That's probably going to tell you a lot more about what's happening than anything else. But we're going to go through the analysis of the Leeds match in a bit more detail and look at the specifics of what Nuno got wrong, what Leeds did well, and what we have to do going forward to try and salvage this season, which looks a pretty tough task, to be honest. But we have to try something. We have to make things better for ourselves, because I think against Leeds last night, we'll get onto the lineups and the approach from West Ham shortly. But we just set ourselves up for failure. We didn't even give ourselves the best platform to get a result, which is a completely different matter if we're not getting results, but playing what I believe is to be our strongest team and strongest lineup. That's a different story and a different issue. We're not. We're actually giving ourselves a disadvantage by starting the players that we're starting in the structure that we're trying. So we're going to go through things. And I think if you enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, because we're going to be creating content throughout the rest of the year. But let's take a look at the lineups to start with, because I think most West Ham fans, when we looked at that Brentford game, that's the worst performance we've seen in years at this football club. And that wasn't taking things lightly. So when we saw a lineup like this again, I was really, really concerned. And it was almost a back five to start with, to be honest. Juve kind of played left wing back. We had Wan-Bissaka, Kilman and Todibo as our back three, and Scarl's right wing back. And he kept Souček and Andy Irving as our midfield pivot, as the only two in midfield. And he was playing, it was almost Paqueta striker with Bowen and Somerville either side. So already we are setting ourselves up to fail. Why are you playing Andy Irving? No disrespect to him as a person, but he is not a Premier League footballer by any stretch of the imagination, especially when you've got Freddie Potts, Magassa, Fernandez, all on the bench that could have played in midfield and done a significantly better job than Andy Irving. And then you're pairing Andy. Again, this isn't just on Irving. He was absolutely diabolical against Leeds, but you're partnering him with Thomas Souček, who is one of the more immobile players in the Premier League, again, next to him. So you're not setting him up for success either. You're playing two players that are very similar, very blunt, can't do much on the ball, off the ball, very, very poor in terms of just being able to bypass with quick players, which we saw multiple times throughout that first half and into the second half before we change things. And you're playing a back line that is just awful. I mean, look, there isn't much more we can do with our defence, but I think playing Ollie Scholes at right wing back after having played him at right back against Brentford is a ridiculous call from Nuno. It's a stupid call from Nuno, because Scholes has not really been in the team, and he's brought him back in this week for Brentford and Leeds, and his performances haven't been good enough. He's been found out. He's been bullied. And I know before he came off in the 20th minute, which we'll get onto, before his injury, he was actually going to be taken off anyway. So that is damning in itself, that your manager and your coach is going to make a sub after 20 minutes for a tactical reason when you've had that time to prepare for a match. It's not good enough from Nuno. And look, Mavropanos was injured, fine. We don't have any other centre-backs other than Igor. Again, he must be terrible if we haven't even seen him come onto the pitch yet, when Kilman and Todibo are our centre-backs at the moment. But it's just poor. It's poor across the board. And you're thinking, we have to go into this with a more positive mindset, because as soon as we see the lineup, it just breeds negativity. It really does. And we'll go into the first goal very shortly. But here's an overview of the stats from the game. Leeds, 41% possession, West Ham, 59%, very much in favour of West Ham, especially going into the second half. However, looking at the expected goals, total shots, shots on target, big chances, Leeds very, very dominant in that sense. And on the momentum side, on the right-hand side, you can see there, I'd say the last 20 minutes in the second half, 25 minutes, we started to get a little bit more control. But again, it was just Leeds sitting in, being very comfortable until we scored right at the end, which was a bit of complacency from Leeds. But when we talk about what's happened from Brentford and the context of that game, I think Nuno himself said, there's so much to work on. We have to forget it. We have to now take that as motivation and use it for this game against Leeds, because it's a massive game. It's a huge game in the context of our season. So why on earth are we starting in the manner that we do? And again, it's because of how we're set up, the lack of quality across the squad, and the mentality. That's what's going to send West Ham down this season if we go down. It's the mentality of this squad. We have enough quality to be a Premier League team. The mentality is nowhere near good enough to be a Premier League team right now. And that is kind of illustrated in this first goal. So let's take a look at it, because as I mentioned, we're playing a back five to start with. This is 2 minutes 46 in. You've got Scholes at right wing back. You've got Todibo, Kilman, and Wan-Bissaka as your back three in the middle. And then you've got Juve playing left wing back. And then your midfield pivot of Irving and Souček. And again, very, very easy for Leeds to bypass through. It's just drifts into this space. They move the ball out to the right. Wan-Bissaka, again, is playing left centre back, which is probably extremely alien to him as a player, and structurally he's not knowing where to be positionally. He comes out to kind of press the Leeds man, but they've got an overload here. They've got two players out here because our midfield is so slow, and because we can't cover across laterally with Souček and Irvin against a Leeds midfield that had three players in there. So we just get overrun 2 minutes into a game, and then the ball comes out wide. And this is the structure of our back line at this point. So you've got Juve, who is way too far away from the Leeds fullback. So it's very easy for him to take a touch, look up, and then cross it in a second, which he does. But look at the structure of that back five and midfield. There isn't a structure. Kilman has actually now swapped with Todibo. Wan-Bissaka's not in line because he came out to press. And then you've got Scholes, who's tucked in the correct position. And then your midfield is just, you can see it there. Irving's been run past by two players and Souček isn't picking anyone up. So it's just a mess structurally. 2 minutes into a game. And then Leeds get into this position. And we speak about Ollie Scholes and his performance against Brentford. It was nowhere near good enough. He was miles off the pace. He wasn't physical enough, and he couldn't keep up with the physicality of Brentford. So again, something Leeds have immediately targeted. Get into the back post. As we can see here, the ball comes in, and Scholes at this point has sight of his man, but it's so easy to get past him. Scholes almost stops during that frame, and the Leeds player just bullies him. He's not someone that's massive, to be honest, the Leeds player. He's relatively the same size as Scholes, but he bullies him. And that's the difference in the Premier League. We can't afford to keep experimenting with this stuff. And I feel for Ollie Scholes because he's a young player and he got a lot of credit last season playing for West Ham when he came through. But you're playing him at right back and right wing back, which is completely alien to him, in a situation where West Ham are extremely fragile and 19th in the league and needing results. It's not the time to be experimenting like this. But when we talk about individual duels, Scholes has to do better if he's going to be a Premier League footballer. He can't allow this to happen. And then you speak about the reaction from West Ham to the second phase. So Leeds win the first header. Areola saves it. Look at the reaction and the body language of our defenders. Two Leeds players, number 9 and number 11 in your shot there. You can see moving towards the ball. So Calvert-Lewin and Aronson there. Look at Todibo and Wan-Bissaka. They're both stationary. They're both not expecting anything to happen. They're not ready. They're not reading the danger. They don't care. They're just numb to it. They're just stationary. And it's so simple for Leeds. Look at Wan-Bissaka. Not my man. I'm just going to stand still and allow the Leeds player to just get in front of me. And then we find ourselves 1-0 down. And it's not good enough. And I think Nuno's face here says it all. 3 minutes in and he's already contemplating how he's set up. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. And that sequence there, structural issues, not winning your individual battles, not having the mentality to react to a second ball and assess when there's danger in a position where it's the most dangerous area in the pitch. It's just not good enough. Every single person within this football club has to take accountability for what's going on right now. And when we're talking about analysing what's going on the pitch specifically, not the stuff that's happening off the pitch, which we completely agree with and I resonate with, I'm talking tactically. The team we're setting up with, the way we're approaching games, this is not Arsenal away. This is Leeds away, a team that is struggling themselves so far this season, a team that is going to be expected to be down there with West Ham in the league this season. So when we're talking about winning points in these types of matches, it's a significant portion of what can happen in this season. So what on earth are we doing just 3 minutes into a football match, playing like that and not being ready for this type of occasion? That's a mentality issue. That's what that is. So Nuno's got a massive job on his hands. Aside from how he's approaching games, which I've completely disagreed with over the last couple of games in the fact that he's selecting Scholes, he's selecting Irving, he's continuing with Irving and Souček in the middle. He's just not getting it right across the board. That's a separate matter. The mentality thing, he has to address that because that's a big issue at West Ham. And that's not something that you can change overnight. And I just don't know I just don't feel it from the West Ham players. I don't feel that bite. I don't feel that mentality to get out of this difficult situation. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I can only look at a few players within this squad and say they actually care about what's going on. There's very few at that club that I think really deep down care about what's happening, to be honest. So that's a bigger issue, and that's a collective issue that, again, Nuno needs to address and the players themselves need to address and take accountability for. But we find ourselves 1-0 down. So you're thinking, fine, right, it's 3 minutes into a game. There's 87 minutes left to play. Reset, go again, and don't let this game go away from you. But we don't. We collapse. We collapse in every single game we play in this environment. We don't have the mentality for it. Yeah, sure, we had one chance with Bowen with an overhead kick, which again would have been Bowen getting us out of jail. But other than that, it was just poor. It was just stagnant. We were being outrun. We were being outfought. We were being everything. Leeds were better than us at. And that's how the second goal comes again. We speak about the mentality of this squad. Before this game, we conceded 8 goals in the Premier League from corners or from set pieces directly, which is a significantly higher number than the rest of the Premier League. I think the next on that list was 3. And then again, we find ourselves conceding from a corner because we don't have the mentality to go and attack a ball, and we don't have the conviction or the confidence to deal with these situations. And teams just smell it. They thrive on it. And you can see here, Paqueta, he's picking up Rodon in this picture. So this is what's happening. He's told Scholes to leave him. So Paqueta, that's your man. He cannot get past you in this situation. If he does, the West Ham players have to be ready to deal with it. And we speak about individual battles. As the ball's about to come in, there's Paqueta. There's Rodon. It's so easy. West Ham have got this zonal marking, so you can see Kilman and Todibo at the front post there, ready to deal with anything that comes in, and Souček just behind for anything out there. So you're thinking, fine, that's not a problem. But look at this. Paqueta, it's just so easy. He gets past him way too easy. And then we just get bullied. It's really difficult to see from this frame, but Kilman can't jump off the floor. So immediately his aerial threat is made redundant. He can't jump. He's stuck in the mud. Todibo's, to be honest, been a coward in this game and hidden away from his aerial duels. And he just did not fancy it at all, which you do not want from your centre-back. And Leeds just smelt it. And Rodon smelt it. And he just came in, free header. He's beat Paqueta. And we find ourselves 2-0 down. How on earth are we continuing to allow this to happen? And again, I keep answering my own questions. I just think it's a mentality thing. I do not think these current West Ham players have the ability to recognise the situation that they're currently in and take accountability and address it. Because at the moment, we're seeing time and time and time again the same mistakes happening, which isn't right. It can't be right. Paqueta losing an individual battle, Kilman, Todibo shying away. Not even just this clip. The entire 90-minute period, Todibo and Kilman as our centre-backs, they're not commanding. attacking players, the Leeds attacking players more specifically, were smelling danger every single time. Areola got the ball, Kilman got the ball, Todibo got the ball. Yeah, sure, Todibo did some nice stuff on the ball throughout the game, but he's a liability defensively. So what good is that in a 90-minute game? It's just so easy to attack. And Kilman can't run. Kilman's just lost all his confidence that he had, and he's just underperforming to a significant degree. And we're massively, massively, massively in trouble as a football club because we need to address it, but we don't have any players to change it. It has to come within this current squad, which again is one of my big concerns. But this entire game, I could have gone through it. I could have gone through 1,000 clips with you in this video, but it was just West Ham getting overrun and not having a structure and not understanding what to do. And, after it went 2-0, shortly after that, as I mentioned, Callum Wilson came on for Scarles and we went to a back four, but it was still not good enough. We were just getting overrun. The same issues were there because he's still playing Souček and Irving as your midfield pivot. And as I said, Irving he's nowhere near Premier League quality. And that's, again, not being disrespectful. He's just not. He shouldn't be playing for West Ham. There's no reason why he should be, especially when you have Freddie Potts, Magassa, Fernandez, all just sitting on the bench. It makes no sense. And we speak about Irving. Again, there's two sides to this. One, he's been left completely isolated a lot of the time in the midfield because of the other players around him not doing their jobs correctly. So that I do have a little bit of sympathy for him. But you have to be able to recognize danger and make the right decision and not be easy to beat. But look here, like the ball comes in, again, really poor defensively in the first phase. But Irving's first instinct is just to go out and try and block or defend. But look how easy it is to get past him. He literally just takes a touch around him. And you can see Irving, he's so slow at getting back. And he just doesn't have the mobility to play in midfield like that. He doesn't have it. Unless he's playing in a midfield three and you've got a lot of athletic midfielders around him, that's where you get the best Irving because technically on the ball, he's decent. But not this. It's so easy, and it happened time and time again throughout the entire game. And when we went into the second half, I thought, Nuno, you have to change it. But he didn't. He waited. He waited and waited and waited. And I think it was the 65th minute around then before we made the midfield subs that we did. And we brought on Potts and Fernandez, and then Magassa came on later on as well. It was too late. It was way too late. That should have happened 15 minutes in when we went 2-0 down. I don't know why Nuno waited as long as he did to make that change because it was clearly not working in that midfield pivot. And we were just getting overrun throughout the entire hour and 5 minutes that they were both playing the double midfield pivot. So as soon as that change was made, again, context is key. Leeds are 2-0 up. They're happy to sit in a bit more and defend. But we took control of how things were happening. Freddie Potts was getting on the ball and being confident and making things happen. A bit of energy in midfield. Fernandez, again, he wasn't great, to be honest, before his goal, but he was trying to make things happen. He brought a bit of energy into that midfield. And we just looked a bit better instantly, just from those changes. So that has to be I can't see Irving in this team again this season. I can't see it. If Nuno does it again, then I've lost complete faith in him as a coach because there's no way you can play him again. There is absolutely no way. I don't know how he's played him after the Brentford game, to be honest, but he's continued with it, and we've had to pay the price because of the performance that we've just seen. But we did get a goal. Again, I'll very briefly touch on it. There's no point going into in detail. Again, it's just a fantastic ball in from Jared Bowen, being the creator this time. And Fernandez, to be fair, to his credit, he just drifts into that central zone between the midfield and defenders and gets a nice flick on and gave West Ham fans a glimmer of hope. But it was too late at that point. We didn't even look like scoring. That came out of nothing. We had a bit of momentum, but again, after that, we didn't create anything anyway, and we just lost control again. So another defeat, 2 defeats this week against Brentford and Leeds is, to be honest, inexcusable, no matter who the coach is, because the players are better than that. We can't be doing that. We're 19th in the Premier League. We've conceded the most goals in the Premier League. We've lost the most aerial duels in the Premier League. We've lost possession most times than any other team in the Premier League. The stats go on. I could read them all day. We're deservedly where we are. That's the issue. It's not like we've been unlucky or we've underperformed our XG or, there's signs that we're creating things and controlling games and, things are going to get better. The context of things are Brentford was our worst performance in years. Leeds was a continuation of that. Yes, we had moments where we were a little bit better, but not really. We deserved to lose that game fairly against Leeds. So there's no excuses there. We've just not been good enough. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's Nuno's selection from the start that breeds negativity. It's the players not taking responsibility and accountability on the pitch. And the biggest one is the mentality of this football team. It's not good enough. The mentality has to change. And I just don't think it can with these current players. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. And these were the winnable games on paper. We have some very, very difficult games coming up in November and December. I think we have the likes of Man City, Liverpool. We've got Newcastle next, which is a tough game. We've got Bournemouth. We've got some really tough games coming up. So it does worry me. And I think every West Ham fan has the right to be worried right now because this is not good enough. And if we continue in this projection that we're going on, we're going down. There's no other way around it. It's not like, oh, maybe we will go down or we might stay up. No. We will get relegated. We'll be a championship team next season if we continue how we're playing and we continue with the mentality and we continue selecting the same team that does not work every single week. And January, like we're looking at January now as maybe our only glimmer of hope where we're going to have to do significant business. But again, who's going to want to join West Ham in the state that it is? What quality really is there going to be in the market? When have we ever really done that? I'd say the most recent example is when we brought in Souček and Bowen. But again, we got lucky with that, to be honest, in terms of how that panned out. Very unlikely we'll get that similar luck again. And there's a lot more than just two players that are needed replacing in this current team. That's a fact. But yeah, I don't want to continue going through this game because it was terrible. It was awful. There's no point going through it anymore because we can see the issues. Everyone can see the issues at West Ham. Not even just West Ham fans. Non-West Ham fans can see the issues. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave it there for today for the analysis, but we'll be back for, the preview of the Newcastle game for next week, which is going to be an extremely difficult game for West Ham, especially considering the fact we're playing at home again and we just struggle even more at home. But Nuno's got a lot of work to do this next week, and the players have got a lot of reflecting and accountability to take from what's happened this week, because 0 points from 6 against Brentford and Leeds, it's not good enough. It's not good enough, and it's going to send us down. So it hurts. It does hurt. I mean, it's extremely frustrating what's happening as a West Ham fan because we've just regressed so far over this last 2 years because of the issues and the decisions we've made off the pitch that is now feeding into on the pitch. And to be honest, I think we might get caught out for that now. I think finally the luck is going to run out for David Sullivan at this football club. But we'll see. I hope we get one more saving grace from somewhere and we manage to pull it out of the bag. But yeah, I just don't see where the results are going to come from. That's the issue. And yeah, I think we're just going to massively struggle. But let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts were on the 2-1 defeat to Leeds and your thoughts for the rest of the season. Do you have a little bit more hope than I do? Do you see where the results are going to come from? And what team or what selection of players would you like to see going into the next game against Newcastle? But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. And as always, until the next time, come on, you Irons.